Welcome to our podcast, Parenting by the Pint. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, Minivan Mafia. Lauren and I are longtime friends from Chicagoland that love getting together to chat about life, kids, family, and beer.
Each week, we'll feature a brewery and sample at least 2 of their beers.
We'll also discuss a variety of topics ranging from parenting, pop culture, travel, marriage, and just about anything else that comes to mind. Welcome back, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Lauren.
You're back from your vacation.
I know, yeah. In case you guys didn't realize, this episode would be the first one that we recorded since I've been back from my trip. And unfortunately for all of you, you're not going to get to hear the whole story. I'm sure there will be a day where we will rehash our summer, retrospective.
Summer vacation. There we go. We'll do that maybe in the fall. Our favorite summer things.
Yes. So I will totally talk about it. I will say we had a wonderful time. And it's good to be home, but it was great to be there. And, and right off the heels of that trip, Lauren and I and some of our children took a little trip up to Milwaukee. And we just could not spend time together without going to a brewery and at least picking up beer.
Yes.
And that's what we did. And that's how we got Indeed Brewing's beers that we're going to drink today. And they're out of Minneapolis, Minnesota, although we stopped by their other location in Milwaukee while we were there.
Yeah. So Indeed Brewing. Yeah, we were up in Milwaukee for some music, and had to make a stop off at least one brewery. So that we did. So Indeed Brewing, I honestly didn't know anything about them, though I'm loving this can. We're gonna drink the Mexican Honey Light Lager, and it's like so pretty. It's got a bunch of bees and flowers, and it's just like super like artistic looking.
I know. I was gonna say, so we bought like a variety pack from them, and all of the can art is very like pleasing to the eye, I guess.
Very much so, yeah.
How I would describe it. This has like bees on it and flowers, and it's just like you could get a tattoo of the design on this can.
100%. That's actually
Yeah, and be very happy, and it would be an aesthetically pleasing tattoo to look at.
Yes, all of the cans really are aesthetically pleasing in their own way, and I really enjoy looking at the can art.
Me too. So let's open Mexican Honey Lights.
Mexican Honey Light. I love the bees on it. I don't even love bees, but they're so pretty. All right, I'm gonna drink.
Bees look really good on it. And I'm not a big bee fan myself. Yeah, to kind of agree with you on that one.
This is super unique. Like, it's clearly a lager, but it's got like more flavor than a typical.
Oh.
It's really flavorful.
That's interesting. I get
like no aroma on it.
No, I can't smell it at all.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe that was because I've been like a little clogged.
No, it has like almost no aroma whatsoever.
No, there's because I get a very faint, but it's super. I have to like breathe it in like with my whole body to get anything. Yeah. But I definitely taste that honey like on the top of the beer itself, and it's really good.
It is really good. Like, lager's not, generally not like my go-to, but this feels like this is 100% a like got done cutting the grass, want a crisp beer. This would fit that bill perfectly, and it's got a really good flavor to it. It's got a little, not even a lot of sweetness, but that honey just gives it a little different flavor than a regular lager. Like, this is really tasty.
Yes.
This is a perfect beer for someone who likes typically a North American lager, and you're trying to like pull them to our craft beer side.
A recruitment beer.
This is a perfect recruitment beer because it's not super heavy, it's not super hoppy, but it still has more bold flavor than a regular lager. And I feel like this is a perfect recruitment beer.
That is brilliant.
Right?
I love when we find a recruitment beer. It's not
really
every
like
day that you
this.
get to
Yeah.
drink one, and it's so hard to get these
People,
non-craft beer
non-craft beer,
drinkers.
because a lot of them are like a lot of, ales or IPAs are hoppy. This is
Mm,
a true lager, but just with a much better flavor profile. Like, yeah,
yes.
this is a perfect recruitment beer. Love it. So
Yes.
I really like
Always
this. I'm
good.
glad we tried
Always
it.
good to find another. We should try to make
Yeah,
a list of recruitment
we
beers.
should. Yes. All
That
right.
would
I'm
be a good
making
use of our energy.
making notes. I like it. All right, so a little about Indeed. So Gara said, they brew a lot out of Minneapolis. They actually started in Minneapolis. Um, the company was technically founded in 2011, but they opened their tap room in 2012. In 2011, there was something that a lot of people refer to as the Surly Bill in Minneapolis. So prior to that, microbreweries were not allowed to actually sell pints of their own beer on site. That was
Oh
completely illegal. They
yeah.
couldn't do it. So in 2011, they put through this bill that they could sell pints of beer on premises. And that resulted in a number of breweries opening, Indeed being one of those.
Okay.
So they were one of the first breweries to open in kind of North Minneapolis, I think, around that time because of this. They were able to serve their own beers. Um, so they were opened by three friends that were former college roommates at the University of Minnesota. They all actually went into media in various ways, but they kept in touch. They had a love of craft beer. They got into that industry. Um, Later. So they opened in 2011, opened their tap room in 2012 in an old 1914 building that was originally a tire manufacturing company. So they had a lot of work to do to get it up to, where they wanted it, but lots of old wood beams and just kind of, a cool vibe type place. Indeed, the name, even like one of the things that I read from interviews with them was like, oh, well, can three, roommates from Minneapolis open a brewery and bring people in? Indeed, we can. Indeed.
Oh,
Um,
I love it.
so they wanted to look for a positive side of things, like the can art, even their logo design is just like a fanciful, happy kind of sense of something positive and something to smile about is what they said. So, but Indeed We Can actually wound up being also the name of an employee-sponsored charity program that they created
Oh,
that they donate 100% of profits from a day they selected each week to employee-chosen local nonprofits. So they're
oh,
part of a group of companies that pledge to donate at least 1% of their earnings, of their revenue each year to charities. So the
nice.
Indeed We Can is their way of doing that. So they do that on a, I don't know how often they actually give the money away, but on a weekly basis they figure out what those profits are, and the employees get to pick a local nonprofit that they want them to go to. So
That's
it's
fantastic.
pretty cool. So they opened 2011, 2012. They increased production in 2013. They started working with a distributor to get their beer out. They started in Minnesota, expanded to the surrounding areas, eventually to the Dakotas, Wisconsin, Iowa, et cetera, et cetera. They're obviously making their way out a little bit more and more. In 2019, in 2014, they actually became the fastest growing brewery in Minnesota.
Wow.
So they very quickly were increasing distribution, increasing production. They won that same year a silver medal at the Great American Beer Fest.
Nice.
In 2019, they opened in a second location to brew kind of like a pilot type brewery and tap room in Milwaukee, which is where we wound up picking up the beer that we're drinking now.
Mm-hmm.
And in that same year, in 2019, they started distributing internationally, with Japan being the first out of US country that they actually distributed to.
Nice.
Yeah, so pretty cool. Their head brewer was interviewed once. Josh Bishkoff Bischoff, and he had a bunch of experience in other breweries before he came there. But in an interview, I thought it was funny because he said someone asked when he started kind of wanting to be a brewmaster, and he said, well, actually, in ninth grade there was a job questionnaire that he filled out that he said he wanted to be a brewmaster when he grew up. So he's had this passion apparently for quite a while.
Who can say that? Who can say that about
and
their
who could
job?
say that what you wanted to be when you were in ninth grade, you actually wound up doing too?
That's
like
crazy.
So few people can actually say that. So they made it through the bad times. In 2020, they actually did something cool. So they obviously they closed their tap room, but they continued to release beer, and they put QR codes on each can so that their customers could scan and donate to local community funds. So they were still trying to continue kind of that charitable contribution even when their doors were closed. So
that's pretty awesome.
Right? I thought that was pretty cool. They host an annual weekend of what they call Good Vibes, food, beer, and music. It's called Whirligig, which I kind of love the name.
Yeah.
They shut down for a couple years during the bad place, and they've reopened up, but they've been doing it for years. And every year it's like a 2-day festival of music and beer and food, and sounds pretty cool. So that's in Minnesota. They've also started doing miscellaneous events at their Milwaukee location, and different festivals, things like that, and participating. Obviously, Milwaukee has a huge beer scene, so there's lots of different things in Wisconsin to participate in, and they've adapted to that area as well. So they don't just make beer. They actually were one of the first Minnesota breweries to start with CBD infused beverages, first released back in 2019 until the Department of Agriculture in Minnesota told them they had to shut it down in 2020. And then in 2022, Minnesota legalized having THC infused beverages. So they started back up. They have a couple of different lines of not just CBD, but THC infused, both non-alcoholic and just THC seltzers and gummies. Actually, they sell.
Whoa! Wow!
Right? Crazy.
Finally, a brewery is going in the business direction I thought they would all go.
Right? So Indeed it is the one that they are contributing to that. So I'm assuming they do not sell them in Wisconsin because that is not currently legal in Wisconsin.
Sure.
So, but Minnesota's on board. So,
but maybe if they'll open a location in Illinois, we can have a conversation with them.
Take that on. Yeah, I'm in. If I ever head up to Minnesota, I will happily give them a try and see how they are. But so that's the little I know about Indeed. But I'm liking this Mexican honey here, so I will
definitely. Yeah, this was so far 1 for 1. Good for them.
Right? Yeah, I like it. We did pick up a variety pack. I handed off the pistachio cream ales that I will not drink to Kara's husband, and we kept a couple other. They also make some other drinks. I actually picked up a 4-pack of Palomas. I have not opened them, but they had a variety of things just to go in their tap room. And I love when tap rooms just have them ready in a fridge to like pick up to take with. Like they do have food at that tap room as well if you wanted to sit, and they were playing music that was the one we stopped in, they were playing music that was, appealing to our generation. They had food, they had drink. I would go back when we had a little more time and maybe
perhaps
less children.
Next time we will make a meal out of it. But we were locked into a theme restaurant already, so
children. So. Yes, but no, this was really good, and I'm definitely intrigued to try more things from them. I have not seen them anywhere in Illinois, so I don't think they're distributing here yet. Maybe they'll make their way down far enough to us at some point. But I would definitely be up for trying some more stuff from them. So next time we head up there, I'll take a look. So, all right,
sounds good.
Let's continue our Mexican honey drinking and move on to our topic of the day.
Yes, my poor sweet Lauren had to endure a car-related trauma this week, which I would love and hate to hear about. But so it inspired us to kind of talk about our car history, you know, what kind of car related stuff has happened to us, good and bad, and maybe some of it's hilarious. I've got a little bit of hilarious car drama to share at one point, and we'll make sure not to skip over it.
Nice.
So shall we start at the beginning, Lauren, or do you want to start at the end?
Well, I'll start with the recent that caused us to do this, and then we can reverse back to the beginning. So we were heading up to Michigan last weekend. You know, my son's continuing lacrosse tournaments. So we're driving, we're stopped at a stoplight, and all of a sudden I get jolted forward, and suddenly, like, what was that? I had the kids in the car, but my car is a beast. So it's a Ford Expedition Max. It's big, it's strong, it's fine. But yeah, so we were rear-ended. Get out, you know, cops come, paramedics come, lots of people come, etc. Everybody was fine, no injuries to anything.
That's good.
Yeah, so silver lining, nobody was hurt, but you know, the comedic part was us trying to move all of the things from the back of my Expedition Max, so big trunk, to my mother's Hyundai Sonata, which not the same. Not so we're like, that's not coming with. Like,
oh my goodness,
we need a suitcase of clothes and all the lacrosse equipment and a couple chairs. And I'm like, sorry, kid, to my daughter, you just get to sit on a blanket because I can't fit any more chairs in this car. So
oh no,
this is what's gonna have to happen. But yeah, so we were all fine, but my car was not drivable. And I feel like if this was a old car, we could have just duct taped it up and made it work. So we changed the tire because it was punctured. Fine, cool. We have a full-size spare, no problem. We duct taped up that bumper and essentially duct taped the rear tail light because it fell off. All of the clips broke and it just fell. But I'm like, all right, we just duct tape this all up. The problem is it's a new car. So the sensors are all shot. So you turn that thing on and it's exclamation points and lights and beeps, and it's like, nope, I'm not going anywhere.
No vroom vroom.
Nope. Yeah. So yeah. So if it weren't for that, if this car was like 15 years old, I could have driven it. But because it's not, it is now, and it was not an option. And of course, at the time it happened, all the rental car places were closed for the day. And my husband's at the firehouse, and it's like, you know, the of course perfect storm of timing. So
but that is great.
we got my mom's car, we made it up north, we made it back. My car is in the shop, and I just got rid of my minivan to get this new car, and I am driving a rental minivan. Woo-hoo!
That is the cherry on top of this crap Sunday for me. Like when you told me that the rental was a minivan, I was just like, dang, girl.
Of course it is.
That is not great.
Yep. So, yep, no, not.
Yep. But yeah, so I feel you, and I feel this topic very much so, because I wrote down a handful of fun little car related stories for myself. And we can kind of rewind now. Try not to think about that one.
Let's go back in time. Let's go back in time to the beginning of our driving careers. So I'll let you take over now, and I'll add more as time goes on.
Sure. So I did not own a car in high school. I really mostly just drove my mother's car. She didn't work, so okay, let me be fair to my mother. She did work, I think, my senior year of high school. I think, maybe not. I don't know, but I drove her car to and from school and did after school, you know, sports and things like that. So I guess I assume she wasn't working yet. Maybe she went back to work after I graduated. Anyway, my first car of my own was when I was in college. I had a silver Honda Civic. It was brand new when I got it. And I kept having a check engine light turn on. It happened, I don't know if you remember, but it was like every so often.
Yeah.
My check engine light kept turning on. I kept taking it into the Champaign
Honda
dealership.
Yeah.
And, I know I had to drop me off or pick
for
me up
sure.
a few times. And it was far. It was like not close to campus. It was like a 15-minute drive from campus.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I know you probably drove me
I'm
a
sure
handful
I
of times
did.
out there. And they just like could not figure out what was wrong. And I started looking at lemon law stuff and all this, and it was like really annoying. And this was over like I don't know, not a hugely long period of time, maybe 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
And eventually, finally, I like came home and I took it in. I think this is how it went down. I took it into the Honda dealership there because the light was on. And like some little washer was just kept slipping out of place. And that was what was causing this. And
what a pain.
So they've replaced it and it never happened again.
Wow.
I never got a check engine light. I didn't ever pay anything to all that time, all those times that I took the car in.
That's so crazy that you took it in so many times and it literally is like one person's
it was
like,
literally like an O-ring or a washer or something of that equivalent. Yeah. And that was the problem. And I was just like, geez. It was just like the littlest problem and you said it's like a sensors issue. Even back then, that car, the sensor kept going off and it wouldn't stop working. It wasn't like I couldn't drive the car, but it caused the check engine light to go on.
Yeah, the light to pop. Yeah.
Huh.
Interesting. Yeah. I do recall that car. I don't necessarily recall all of the details of that, but I remember you having that car. So yeah, my first car I got when I turned 16 years old. So I bought a Firebird from a little old lady who kept it in the garage and only drove it to the grocery store. So
nice.
I mean, it was almost as old as me because it was a 1984 fire engine red Firebird. So I loved that thing because I was like, I think I'm cool. I'm a 16-year-old driving a Firebird, and it worked really well until like one day underneath one of the floor mats there was this like green liquid and I was like, what in the heck is this? Because I had no idea. And it wound up being a radiator fluid. Something happened with the tubes, and it wasn't a huge deal, but it was like, why is my floor wet? I was completely lost because frankly I know nothing about cars. I know a little bit more now, but still not much, and I knew nothing then. But yeah, no, that car actually lasted me a very long time, knock on wood, without any significant, I mean, obviously it needed repairs and eventually needed to get rid of it, but like it was a good little car. Like
that's great.
It definitely
I
wasn't
regret
bad.
selling my Civic when I went off to law school. I was going to law school in the city of Chicago and I didn't want to have a car. I don't regret not having a car in Chicago, but I do miss that. Like I do wish I had kept that car from like an objective standpoint, because I feel like it would have been nice to have after law school. And I know that's not reasonable to like just sit on a car for years for no reason,
no,
but
I get
but
it.
I liked the Civic and I liked driving it. And when I did buy my next car, I bought a Mazda 3 and which is like, they don't make it anymore, but it's basically the smallest Mazda sedan you can buy. And it was a little sporty looking. It was the lightest toy little car ever. It was like I could not stop in snow ever. It would just like skate off onto the on the road. I went through many red lights and thing. And at some point I was driving down my street that my apartment was on, and some lady backed into me coming out of a parking spot. It's kind of a complicated situation, but they were parking along the road, and so she backed out of a space and she hit me. And unfortunately for her, there was a ComEd, an electric company vehicle, parked illegally along the parking area, so she couldn't see me. I was in her blind spot and she reversed into me. And it was pretty catastrophic, honestly. My car ended up being totaled. My airbag was deployed. I didn't get hurt. I was sore as heck, man. I mean, like reacting to an accident like that, my whole body, like,
you're
you
tense. And then, totally.
I was like, I've felt pain, and I'm not that dramatic of a person, but like that was brutal, man.
Yeah, sure.
That was some bad pain. I will say that.
Yep. No, that's fair. Yeah, my next, I kind of like just borrowed my family's cars for a little bit after we got rid of that car. So like my brother wound up going to college and I drove his old, the car he had for a while, and then I drove the car that he bought a car in, I think when he went to college, maybe right before he went to college. And it was a Hyundai Santa Fe. And so I came back from college and lived with my parents for a little bit when I first started in public accounting, and I drove that a little bit. My father still has that car and drives it every day. It's got to be 20 years old at least. Like that car's got to be. And I keep telling him he needs a new car. I've decided that I think he just doesn't want to go through the hassle of buying a new car. Like I think it causes him anxiety and he doesn't want to do it.
It is an absolute nightmare.
I hate it. The process sucks.
Every time I buy a car, and this is like the crux of this conversation, but every time I do buy a new car, I am like, gosh, I hope I die before I have to replace this car.
Right.
Maybe I'll die in this car.
Right.
Like I'm like, I just don't ever want to do this again. It's just absolute torture.
I hate it
How
so
have
much.
we not reached the point where I can buy a car online? I mean, this is not an advertisement for Tesla, but the fact that you can order the car online and submit all the paperwork and even get a loan, and they will just drop it off at your house and you just sign your name. It's like receiving a box from
like Amazon comes.
You just
done.
Sign for
Honestly,
it.
so we bought. I'll go back shortly, but we bought this car that is currently in the shop from a place near Detroit. And so we shopped online. We knew exactly what car we wanted. We were just looking for one that existed because there weren't that many that are this big. There's a lot of Expeditions, not as many Expedition Maxes that are under like 20,000 miles that have all of the things we wanted. There were like 5, like, within a reasonable distance. So my husband actually flew there and then took an Uber to the dealership and drove it home.
Yeah.
But honestly, I feel like that was easier than having to go into the dealership here and haggle with them. We just called them and we're like, he walked around on a video with the car and we said, okay, as long as it's in the condition you say it is, this is what we're offering. Yeah. Take it or leave it. We will fly out in 3 days to go get the car. Yes or no. And they were like, all right, this is the price we're willing to offer. And we were like, all right, cool. It's somewhere in the middle. We're done. Like, I honestly feel like buying it out of state and then flying to get it. And I know you did that with yours.
I was just about to say, I mean, literally the same story.
Dealing with the like local back and forth.
Oh my
crap.
Goodness. So when I bought my minivan, I bought a used minivan from a local Ford dealership. It was a Honda Odyssey minivan. So not a Ford, but it was just a used minivan. I spent an entire day there. At one point I told them they came back to me like 3 hours in, they came back to me with a different price. And I was like, that's not the price. I had a voicemail on my phone. I was like, that's not the price you gave me on the phone. I'll just leave. Give me my car back. Cause I was trading in my old car.
Right.
I was like, give me my car back. I gotta go. My babysitter has to leave.
Yeah.
And they turned it around. They were like, no, we'll do that price. Here's the financing guy. Thank you for coming in.
They try and haggle with you, and they try and screw you. Honestly, literally doing it over the phone and then just going to pick up the keys was the easier way to do it, which is just sad.
Oh, yeah.
Anyways, I digress.
I know. Rewind back to where we were.
So I drove a miscellaneous cars for a bit. And then the next real car that was like mine was a Nissan Xterra, which I bought as an adult with a real job. I had it when we got married. I had it when we had our oldest. And then I had 2 more kids and I needed to buy a car. We did not own a vehicle that could fit 3 car seats when we had the twins. We didn't.
Yeah.
We bought that car they were a week old, maybe 2 weeks old.
Oh man.
because
there was no way to get everybody in
no
to somewhere if one adult driver was there.
No. And so I actually drove the day after I got home from the hospital because I wasn't on pain meds. So the doctor said, if you're comfortable and you're not on any medication, you can drive. So I drove, and then we went and got a minivan, and then I immediately backed it into my husband's pickup truck. Like, I don't remember what the scenario was.
Geez.
I wasn't paying attention. I'm sure I was half asleep. And I had that car for like 5 days before backing it directly.
Can I ask an adorable question? Yeah. Did you, in a moment of weakness, like yell at him about it?
Oh, I'm sure I did. I'm totally sure I did. Because I'm sure he remembers this better than I do, but
because I did not hit my husband's car or anything, but Mike, when we used to park our minivan, which we don't own anymore, by the way, thank God it's gone. We used to park it in our garage, which was tight. It was really tight, but it was doable. But Mike did this thing when he would park it in the garage where he would angle it. He would go in and then he would angle as far over as possible and then straighten out. But if you back straight out, you would hit the mirror on the side of the garage. How do I know that? How do I know you could do that? Because I did that. I scraped the mirror on the side of the garage, and I was just like,
why'd you park like this?
Idiot.
Like totally
it was his like I didn't fault. Like I wasn't in the car with him when he pulled it in and I saw him do it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know he had done that. Like I couldn't look out the rear view and see how close the side or the side view and see how close the side view mirror was to the garage. But man, I remember getting out and going back in the house and being like, I just hit the garage with the minivan and I hate this car and I hate this mirror and I hate this garage.
Yep.
I hate you.
That's fair. I don't remember, like, I've said this multiple times. I don't really remember most of the first year of the twins' life. So, like, I'm sure I was sleep deprived and not paying attention and just wanted to get out of get to wherever I was trying to get to, but quite literally just right into it. And we never repaired the back of the minivan. So I just drove around like that, and we kept being like, well, maybe we'll replace it. Maybe we'll replace it. And then we would get prices, and it's like, you're going to need to pay $5,000 to get this whole
they, like,
thing
have
replaced.
To put the whole door.
I was like,
or
F
some
that.
craziness.
I don't care. Like, I'm just not doing it. So I drove it for years and just like a bum with this dent in the back of my car. And then finally recently got rid of the minivan. And we put so much money into that stupid thing too. Like, we replaced the transmission twice. Once was under warranty, but the second time wasn't. Like, there's so many things. We dumped so much money into that thing. Like, it was fine and it fit the kids and it served its purpose for the moment. And I drove that thing. I think it had like 217,000 miles on it.
I think you got rid of it. You did what you needed to do with it then.
Yeah. So I drove it for a very, very a lot of miles. Not a long. I put a lot of miles on all of my cars. Like, I'm way over. I could never lease a vehicle. I would be over the mileage like so fast. So, but yeah, I might have hit 218. I'm not sure, but definitely somewhere in that range. So then we donated to the fire department, where Brandon started the volunteer one, and they use it for training. And they sent us a video of them. They had practiced extrication, so they cut the roof off of it, like the whole roof, took the windshield off. And they could still drive it. So they were driving it out without a roof, without a windshield, but with the wipers going, like, it's
man,
it's like the Three Stooges driving around.
That's so great. Yeah, that is exactly what I was picturing.
It's exactly awesome. That. Like, you could put music to it and it would look exactly like something from the Three Stooges. So I was like, you know what? I feel good about this. And but now I am back in a minivan, which I'm not enjoying.
I'm sorry. Just tell yourself it's temporary.
That's what I keep saying.
And everything's gonna be fine.
And actually, after when we were in my mom's car for the weekend, I 1000% was like, I can't drive a sedan. Like, it's too. I'm so used to being up high from all of the vehicles that I've had for the last 20 years that, like, I can't. Not that I can't drive it. I don't want to drive.
Yeah, sure. I get it.
Like, I'm just not. I like the car. Like, I actually love my new car. And my husband was like, well, now that it's in the shop, like, it just lost 30% of its value. So, like, if
Yep.
we want to trade it in at any point, you have to think about it. And I'm like, oh no, I'm driving this thing till it dies or I die. Like, it's that,
Yeah, right.
I will keep it when I get it back fixed. I will keep it for as long as physically possible, because I actually do really like it now that I've driven 2 other vehicles in the last week that I don't enjoy driving. So
Yeah. I get
yes,
it. I get
I'm
it.
very much waiting to hear back. But yeah, no, I'm gonna try. See, like, I'm mad that somebody hit me because my last car, I was the one that dented it.
You
And
want
I'm
to
like,
destroy it.
I don't want to, but I'm like, like, it's not even my fault this time. Last time it was my
Oh
fault.
man.
But this time
Right.
not so
Yeah.
much.
I hear that. I
So,
hear that.
but it's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I moved on from my Mazda 3 that got into an accident from to a Toyota Prius. And this was like an earlier stage Prius, because this was back in like 2006 or 2007 maybe. I'm trying to remember what year that car was.
Yeah.
Man, is that right? That's crazy. I guess that's right.
Yeah, probably.
Anyway, and I started driving a Prius, and the only thing I'll say is that I waited forever for it because I had to order it, and I was carless. I had no car. My mother-in-law was kind enough to let me drive her car for like 6 weeks, like a really long time.
Yeah, that is a long time.
But she had one of those HRs, like, what was that thing called? It was like a Chevy.
Oh,
Was it not
the weird one? Like,
yeah, it looked kind of like an old-timey car with like the wheel well sticking out sort of looking thing. I can't remember what it was called.
What were those called?
HHR. That's what they were called.
Yes. Okay.
Right?
Man.
Am I right?
Yeah, that's totally what it was. Yeah.
That's what she had, and it was like the weirdest car. And it was like really
strange. It's like a minivan front with like a wagony type back. Like, they were the strangest looking, like, looked like a hybrid of a car. Like, it was just weird looking. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So
that was what she had. And and nothing was wrong with it, and it was perfectly drivable, and I never had any issues with it. And obviously I'm eternally grateful for her lending the vehicle to me. But it was just such an odd vehicle to drive. Then I got the Prius, and I was like, oh, this thing is like whisper quiet, and it's super much smaller, and like I really enjoyed the Prius. I would have driven that thing forever. We traded it in when we kept it for a very long time. We traded it in when we got the minivan.
Oh, so not too long
ago.
Yeah. Okay.
And I regret that because I bought a minivan and I hated that thing. And if I could change any of my car history, I would have not gotten it at all. I only have 2 kids. I don't need it. Nobody was playing hockey or any sport that required a lot of equipment.
A bunch of crap. Yeah.
I bought a fake Christmas tree, so I didn't need a car that could fit a tree in it.
You really had no need for.
My brother lives close enough to IKEA to meet me there, and if he doesn't, I would call your husband if I was desperate.
Also meet you there. Yeah, exactly.
And be like, "What days are you off? Meet me at IKEA. I'm buying a couch."
Yep, exactly. You have options.
Yeah, so. And the 3 times a year that I would need a bigger car, I just like couldn't justify it. It's just in the same way that you feel like you fit comfortably and you're happy in a certain type of vehicle.
Yeah.
I feel that way about minivans. I do not like to be in them. I don't want to drive it.
Well, I mean, the size even made sense for me. I just don't like driving the minivan. Like, I just don't enjoy it.
Sure, yeah.
As a drive. Like, and I like to drive. So
yeah, I know. You drive everywhere, which is a huge blessing for me, by the way, because I hate driving.
It works out.
Anytime we're gonna hang out, you'll be like, "Hey, do you want to go do this thing?" And then I'll be like, "Ugh, it's far away." And then you say, "I'll drive," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
care
I'll
where
just
we're
pick you
going.
up. It's cool.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Where are we going?
Yeah.
Yes, I will be there. I will meet. Can you pick me up?
Yeah.
Or do I have to go to your house? I will do either.
Either way, but then I will take us wherever we are going, and it works out
I will
fine.
almost automatically go if I don't have to drive.
It's a great relationship we got going on.
I
It
know,
works
I
out
love it.
perfect.
I love that.
But then I have this big car, so we can fit everybody
I
in it,
know.
which is also
That is also
great.
great.
So I'm totally good with this. Yeah, on our way up to Wisconsin, like the kids all had pretty much their own like space. Like there was
Yes,
no
which
issue
was great
whatsoever.
because my
Yeah.
youngest is a little weird about feeling
Yeah.
crowded in a car for some reason, which I didn't know was a problem until the last time we tried to go
Yes.
somewhere together.
Yeah.
And he asked repeatedly what the seating arrangement was in the car.
Yeah.
And I kept telling him that he could potentially have his own row of seats if
Yeah.
he required it. And he was like, that sounds fine.
Yeah. We're okay with the scenario. Okay,
Yeah.
we're good. We're good now. All right.
Yes, it was very it was
But
a
yeah,
comfort to all involved.
But I also understand like people who don't want a big car. Like my mother
sure.
has no idea why I wanted this big car, but she drives a Sonata, and I don't want the Sonata. Like
Sure.
people have different preferences, and I totally get that. The minivan was a ends justify the means type thing, but it wasn't what I enjoyed. So I understand you also not enjoying the minivan. So
yeah, it drained life out of me. Like I'm gonna live less. I'm not gonna live as long because I drove that thing. I know I'm being dramatic. I don't care. I drove it for longer than I wanted. It was supposed to. It was a third car for us. We had two other cars, and then at one point we did not. And I was driving the. Did I have three cars? Yeah, I did, right?
3 cars
because
I
had the Clarity, right? When we bought the Clarity.
When you got the Clarity, then you had 3 cars.
Then I had 3
until you got rid of the minivan. Yeah.
And then before I got the Clarity, before I flew my husband across the country to go pick up the car.
Yep.
We had the minivan and we had a Nissan Leaf, which is a very small electric vehicle that was unfortunately not having a long enough range for me to drive to and from work, especially in the winter. And so I had to start driving the minivan to work, and it was killing me. I could barely take it.
I'm sure that pushed you to find a new car.
I got in that
faster
thing.
Than...
Yeah, I got in that thing every day, and I was just like, this is just awful. It is just so bad. I can't. What am I even doing? I kept hoping that somebody was gonna like hit it in the parking lot.
You wanted to be rear-ended. You wanted somebody to crash into your car, so
I
you
was
could get
like,
rid of
maybe
it.
there's a way that I can survive it being like it can go off a bridge. Like, is there a way that can
we can
happen?
make
Can I jump out
and me be okay? Yeah. How can I get rid of this thing?
I just don't want it. I hated it so much, and I actually sold it for a pretty good amount considering what I paid for it. If you go back and do the math and figure out what I paid and what I got for it,
sure.
And the period that I had it, it really was pretty good, pretty reasonable. Awesome. So I'm glad that worked out. So yeah, now I have the Clarity, which I love. I would not want to drive anything else. It is a larger sedan, kind of like a Honda Accord, maybe even a little bit bigger.
Okay.
It does everything I need it to do. It's comfortable. That's kids are comfortable in it. We can travel, we can road trip in it because it's got a gas tank, even though it's got a battery as well. Which for me, I'll admit that I am puzzled that there are not more
like that
vehicles like that, because I think if for no other reason, it would help people transition. If the idea of getting an electric car is in your brain, like whether or not that makes sense for everybody or anybody is
there's
totally
a lot
personal.
Of debate on that.
Well, and yes, and for me, when we got the Leaf, it was awesome because it was a really cheap car that drove just far enough for me to get to and from work every day,
which was
great. That was all I needed it to be.
Yeah.
And the Clarity is just such a nice. It's like the Leaf with an insurance policy, because
good way to put it.
Today I drove all over Creation. It was in my car for 2+ hours, and I certainly burned through all of the battery on the Clarity and had to start using the gas. Yeah. And that was fine.
But you had that option.
I have a gas tank, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. And it just means I'll charge it when I get home, and I'll drive on the battery tomorrow. It's fine.
Yeah, it is an interesting we won't get into that debate. But yeah, it is an interesting combination that you don't see that often. That
No,
it makes
and
you wonder why.
I guess
But
I would have to, I would say, because I have no information, no factual information on that, I would have to say it's probably cost prohibitive.
Yeah, to do both.
I think the balance between having a large enough battery capacity for it to be worth it to drive just on battery, where you're not talking about just a few miles, and then a gas tank that's not going to weigh down the car so much that your battery life is going to suffer. You know what I mean? Like you got to kind of probably balance those two things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I bought a Honda, because Honda seems to be able to figure that stuff out and do a good job of it.
There you go.
So it's a Honda, and I couldn't be happier. And it just brings us all the way back full circle to my Honda Civic and my regrets of parting ways with it too soon.
You had to go back to the Honda.
When we bought the Clarity, my son, who's now 12, told me that he can't wait for it to be his car. And I was like, no.
You're like, it's going to be mine forever.
Yeah,
sorry.
I'm not giving it up yet. I mean, I know we've got 4 years. My feelings are, in the next 4 years, if hypothetically we were to replace the Leaf, which will, if
that will need to go before.
I would be
shocked. Yeah,
shocked. I'll be excited if it makes it through this winter.
Yeah,
but I don't plan on giving a child access to that car for a while. We'll see where we're at. We'll see. Maybe he can practice on it once in a while.
That's fair. I'm good with that, but you're not getting my car. So, yeah. All right,
so
I'm going to open this next beer while you tell whatever the next
I was going to say, I have one hilarious car-related story.
I'm waiting for the funny story. All right.
Yeah, none of this has been as funny as what I am about to say. So if you were laughing this whole time, well, you're going to be...
All right, I'm waiting. I'm ready.
It's going to be great.
Ready. All right.
So, but yes, let's open this Flavor Wave.
We're going to drink Flavor Wave IPA, also very aesthetically pleasing. It's a cool, like, there's like a boombox and like a crazy, there's a skateboard. It's like a Esther, what's
this
that?
Like 80s looking to you?
Yeah,
Is that what this sort of looks like? There's like almost like a pineapple or
it's a boombox. There's a wave, a boombox. Couple
it
boomboxes.
Looks like a DeLorean looking car over here. Even.
Yeah, I don't know. It's cool looking. There's an arcade game in the back, a cassette tape,
nice.
There's all kinds of cool stuff on here. I'm digging it. So all right, we're gonna drink this Flavor Wave IPA.
Let's pour some Flavor Wave. Oh my goodness, it smells so
IPA
good.
aroma. Yes.
Yeah, I just thought the same thing. Yum yum yum. So here's the deal. So my brother and I run my father's sign business, and a couple of years ago we have a truck, a company car. It's a van, it's a transit. And there's a bunch of sizes of transits, but to give everybody kind of an idea, this is kind of in the middle. So it's not the smallest transit that's like kind of a little baby sized van. It's a little bit, it's bigger than that. And it doesn't have back windows. So it doesn't have a rear view mirror, okay? And we did not...
You can't see anything through it.
And we were too cheap to get a backup camera for our driver. So no backup camera, okay? So let's keep that in mind. So one day he's out doing an install. He's in the van, and he pulls into Dunkin' Donuts to get a coffee and grab a donut or whatever, but I don't think he goes to the drive-thru because I think the truck's too big for that. So he goes in. So he parks in a spot, goes in, comes back, has his coffee, starts to back out of the parking spot. Boom, he hits somebody. So he gets out, and who does he hit? A police car. He hits a police car in the parking lot of the Dunkin' Donuts. And he's obviously like, heartbroken that this has happened, but he's also like, freaking out a lot because he's like, oh no, I'm gonna get in trouble.
He's in the work car. He hit a cop. Yeah.
Like he's like, and he calls us when he has a moment, and he tells us everything that happens. And after we can all finish laughing, I'm like, are you okay? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, are the police officers being nice to you? And he was like, yes, everything is fine. The problem is that I hit a cop in the town that he works in, and he can't like process the ticket for the accident. They need to call somebody else
Oh my
to do
gosh.
it. So we're waiting for somebody to get here to like write up the accident or whatever. And I was just like, okay, as long as everything is okay, it's all right. Just come back when you're done. Sir, is the van drivable? Is his car drivable? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. How much damage did you do to the police car?
Yeah. I think everything was basically fine. So, he comes back, whatever. We, as you said about your minivan, we certainly aren't going to get this thing fixed.
Right? Yeah.
Fine.
As long as it drives.
I'm
Does the
not
door
paying to
open?
fix
We're
this.
good. Yeah.
So, we just paid to fix the cop car. So we
Right. Yeah, fair. I get that.
Well, our insurance did, of course, but the insurance company calls me because I have to file the report and everything. And they're like, can you go through what happened, or do we need to speak with the driver? And I said, you should probably speak with him. I wasn't there, and I think he should go through it with you. And they were like, well, tell us what happened. And I tell them exactly what I told you. And they were just like, what? Let me get this straight. You hit a police car in the parking lot of a donut shop? And I was like,
yep.
Yes. And he was like, oh man, that's awesome. And I was like, not really.
But it's a good
funny.
Story. It makes for
Not
a
awesome.
good story. Yeah.
And I'm like, please call my employee and have him tell you the story, because I want to watch him have to tell it to you.
Oh, I love that. I will say, to wrap up, and that is a fantastic story. When we got rear-ended, my son starts calling his friends from the lacrosse team, because we're all heading up in different cars, but plan on like meeting up there. So he calls one of them, and of course he's just like, yeah, we got into a crash, everything's fine, we're still coming. And so like the moms call me, and they're like Cooper called and said you guys got into an accident and you're still coming, you're on your way. And they were like, we think there's some missing stuff here.
Yeah,
like,
right.
We're gonna try, but we don't have a car right now. But at the end of all this, we figured it out. My son goes, well, it makes for a good story, Ma. And I was like, all right, that's the best way to look at it. It makes for a good story. Right? So that's how we ended our that makes for a good story. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm gonna continue drinking this.
Yeah, let's drink some more Flavor Wave, which I keep wanting to call Flavor Town, by the way, because it's got like a city on the can, and I keep thinking about that.
Flavor Town. I actually feel like that should have been it. The can art would suggest Flavor Town. Not as much of a wave. There is a wave on here, which makes sense. However, I feel like it's just placed on there because actually there's a few waves. I like Flavor Town.
It's kind of all over the place. So it is waves. There are waves. So I respect the name. Town. But I know it looks like a Flavor Town.
I like it. I like the beer though. It's good. It's a basics IPA. It's got a great aroma. I really like the smell of it.
Yeah, it smells really good.
Yeah, it really does. But yeah, this is just your basic, IPA. It's good. Really smells good, and it's crisp and fine. I mean, it's not blowing me away, but it's a good solid IPA. So
yes, I would happily drink this at the bar in this brewery.
Yeah, 100%.
And be glad with my choice. I would absolutely drink it in like a taster. If there was like a flight, this would be something I would totally put in my flight.
Yeah, I like both of these beers, honestly. So I would definitely be up for trying some other things if I could find them, or if we take another trip up there and we do a flight at the brewery, I would be happily participating in that. These are good.
Definitely.
So I am a fan of Indeed We Can. Indeed Brewing. So, all right. This was good.
All right. Thanks, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to the latest musings from Parenting by the Pint.
Be sure to find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Have a great week, and cheers to you all.